What's good, YouTube? It's your boy Nehemiah, aka Neo, and today we're going to be talking about my picks for the top five seeds for the NBA season next year. Now, today we're going to be starting with the Western Conference, and before you guys say anything about, oh, this doesn't match up with your preseason rankings, I understand that. This is not necessarily going to be how good I think they're going to be, but more so how they're going to be placed into the NBA season going into the playoffs. Something like the New Orleans Pelicans, I think that they could even be the eighth seed, maybe even the seventh seed, but I still think that they're probably going to be a top five team in the West, regardless of what seeding they are. It's probably going to be a lot more about health more so than it is about talent. So as I already spoiled, the New Orleans Pelicans are probably going to be an honorable mention, and the Minnesota Timberwolves. Now, I want to put these guys higher. However, the only reason why I have a couple of doubts with at least the New Orleans Pelicans is because I'm not sure how healthy Zion will be in the next couple of seasons. And I think that this season is not going to be like anything too bad. Now, we could have this Zion who played a majority of the season. If you guys remember, this is a 72 game season. And the only reason why he didn't play 72 games is for the foot ankle injury that he had in the later half of the season. So at the really like tail end. So it was really bad for him to have that. And I think that if he's at least on the floor for, let's say 60, 70%, I think that this team could probably jump all the way up to like 4. And they could probably even just be a top 4 seed in general. But I just don't think that Zion will be as healthy as we could expect. And for the Minnesota Timberwolves, I don't think that they are going to be a top 4 seed, only because I just don't know how Rudy Gobert is going to look on this team. I know I'm a big advocate for the Rudy Gobert trade, but at the same time, yeah, we have to understand that they did give away a lot of their key defenders. You know, Patrick Beverly. I'm blanking out of the dude's name. Hold on, not Jaden McDaniels. It was, damn. Did I really just blank out on his name? Jared Vanderbilt. Excuse me. It was Jared Vanderbilt. So I completely forgot about Vanderbilt, but he got traded, and that's going to be really tough. But I do think that if Anthony Edwards does take like the 25 point per game step, I think that they are the 5th seed. But right now, I have the Phoenix Suns. Now, I'm expecting this team to fall off for several reasons. One, I think that Chris Paul is probably going to take a slight decline this year. But two, and more importantly, I don't think that this team has as good a depth as they did 2 years ago. Not only that, but I do think that the team is starting to stagnate a little bit. I think that teams are starting to understand how to combat the way that the Phoenix Suns play, and they're probably going to implement that a lot more in the regular season going into the offseason, or not offseason, the playoffs. So I think that it's going to be really hard for this team to really just bounce back from the teams that they've faced in previous seasons. And while they may still have the dominant regular season performance, I don't think that they're going to be as good as they were in the last 2 years. And especially if they start getting the really like haltering defense that the Dallas Mavericks put on them, where they kind of just stagnate, or not stagnated, but more so flying out Chris Paul's passing ability. I think that that's going to be it. I think that that's going to be really just it for this team. So I really want people to understand that I don't really think that this team is going to be top 4 seed, but I do think that top 5 is probably like a really good place to put them. Now, the Golden State Warriors, I do think that they're going to drop a little bit lower for several reasons. One, I think that this team is just going to improve. Same with this team. And I think that the Golden State Warriors is probably just going to take this year a little bit slower than usual, especially because they have a couple of new players that haven't been a part of the roster before. Actually, not. He's been on the roster, but James Wiseman, they're probably going to push him a little bit forward. Same with Kuminga, maybe even Moody a little bit. And they just have a bunch of rookies that they may not play as much, but they're probably going to at least try to find ways to, put them in the roster. The only problem with this roster right now is that they don't have the amount of veterans that they really want to have compared to that they had last year. They had Gary Payton, they had Otto Porter, both of them left this year. They had Juan Toscano Anderson, who also left, which is really going to be bad because looking at the salary cap for this team, they're kind of maxed out until the 2024 season when that starts, because then the salary cap is going to bump up by 10, and I think they're still going to be way over, but it's still going to be a little bit better for them to manage. So I really think that this team just probably going to suffer a lot from from just not having that much depth compared to last year. But I think that Jermichael Green is a really solid player. The rookies I don't know anything about. I'm gonna be completely honest. I heard that he's pretty solid, if I'm not mistaken, but who knows? Uh, Again, never heard of him. But Moody, this guy, Jonathan Kaminga, and James Wiseman, McClung. I think that these guys are probably just going to be what really breaks or makes this team's off season or regular season. I don't know why I keep saying off season. It's probably just because the off season is on right now, and I just got done watching football for a little bit, and I've just been thinking about the off season for too much. So, yeah, I think that that's all I really need to say about the Warriors. I think that there's a good chance that they have a similar regular season to that they had last year, where essentially they started 18-2. Then after that, they kind of went like 500 to like this mark around here, but they kind of bounced back a little bit at the end. So I'm expecting something similar to that. The Clippers are really hard to tell. I think that the Clippers could be lower only because we don't know how much games Kawhi Leonard is going to play. We don't know how much games Paul George. Norman Powell, I'm not sure if he has any health struggles, but he did have some last year. Yep. He was not the healthiest last year. And he wasn't the healthiest for the last couple of seasons. So I think that that's going to be a really big concern for this team. They have a lot of scores. Again, I've said it before. This team is probably just the most complete roster in the NBA right now, but I don't think that they have the best roster in terms of health. But I think a guy like Reggie Jackson, a guy like Robert Covington, Robert Covington has played a lot of games and he hasn't been super unhealthy, but I think that a guy like Reggie Jackson, he has been playing a lot of games and he has had some health struggles earlier, but not like when he was playing with the Clippers. But again, I think that they just have, even if their stars don't play, they just have a bunch of people that they could just throw out there, you know. And I'm expecting this team to have the same kind of emphasis that they did last year. They were the 8th seed, if I'm not mistaken, before the play-in, and I expect them to actually make that really, really drastic jump. Not saying that this team isn't going to be a top 4 seed. I think that they could even fall to like the 5th or 6th. Again, they finished the 4th seed in this season, and I think that they got better. I don't think that the competition is nearly as, it's not as vigorous as it was in 2021, but I do think that they could still probably just see a little bit in a decline simply because there's kind of just two problems. One, how Kawhi, we don't know how good he's going to look, and two, I think that the rosters that they're going against, again, the Denver Nuggets, the Memphis Grizzlies, the Golden State Warriors, they're probably more difficult than the Los Angeles Lakers. Also, the reason why they were the 4th seed is simply because they did not want to see the Los Angeles Lakers, so they just kind of tanked some of the last games, which it is what it is. You know, they still had a really good postseason run, so you can't really blame them. The Nuggets. Now, if I'm not mistaken, they were the 3rd seed while Jokic was the MVP. Yep. I expect them to be a little bit better. Roster's a little bit better. They have Bones Highland. Zeke Naji is honestly a pretty solid player. Also, if you guys hear that, my fault. It's just a little lawnmower, but I don't think you guys can hear that. But again, Zeke Naji, Bones Highland were pretty solid. Jeff Green is a really solid player again, but I think the biggest pickers they had is Ish Smith, Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, and I think that's it. Christian Braun is a really good guard. Don't get that twisted. I think that he's going to be a really good pickup for them. I've heard really good things about him, and I really wanted him on Milwaukee, but because he's on this team, I think that that's going to be a really good fit. If I'm not mistaken, they did trade away. They traded away. What's his name? Monte Morris. They traded away Monte Morris and Will Barton, but they got those guys in return. And I think that they fit a lot better with what Jokic wants to do. You know, a little bit of playmaker for Ish Smith and 3D for him. Bones Highland, again, another 3-point shooter. And I think that that's all you really need with Jokic. You guys just need like 3 and Ds, just all around. And honestly, because of the success for this season, I don't think that the help is that much worse. In fact, I think it's a little bit better. But I do want to emphasize one thing. This does really depend on how good Jamal Murray, and Michael Porter Jr. are. That's literally it. If these guys are as good as they were, if not a little bit better than the previous season, they are definitely going to be the second seed. So, yeah, that's really all I have to say about them. They definitely just have a lot of actions that they could just use throughout the whole regular season that they could just carry on for a lot of the season. Now, this is probably going to be a controversial pick only because I'm not sure how much I believe in this. Simply because Jaren Jackson is going to be God for a while. If it wasn't for that, I would not have any type of conviction, or I would have like the utmost conviction of this pick. Look at it. They were the second seed in the NBA. The second seed in the NBA in general. Don't get that twisted. Look at how they started last year. They were not 500 until this point of the season. After the 10-10 mark, after the 20 game mark, they just went on a 46-16 streak. They lost 16 games after the first 20 games. I don't think y'all understand how impressive that is. Even a team like the Phoenix Suns, while they did have a stretch that was as good as that, I think that they're going to go a little bit down. And I think that this team is just going to improve a little bit more. There is nothing that really said that they aren't going to improve a little bit in the regular season. And I know what some of you guys are saying. Oh, but the team is better without Ja Morant. Shut the fuck up. Like, shut up. You really don't matter, bro. You're really just a bot. But I just want to say that this team just has too many pieces for me to denounce them as not the number one seed. They just have too much grit and grind in them. They just have too much emphasis on being the best that they can be. And I just think that's just going to end up for them to being the first seed. They will have a very similar record that they did have last year. And I think that that's just going to be great for them. Again, they were the 20th. They weren't even a 500 team in the 20th game of the season. And then they did not lose more than 20 games after that. Who was beating this team? Like, it's just that this team really just depends on, one, if they're at least coached well enough, and I think that they will. But two, and more importantly, I think that this team just needs to have a consistent offensive and defensive rating. If I'm not mistaken, up until this point, they were a horrible defensive team. That's pretty much the reason why they were getting blown out, you know. And I think that if this is the mark that they're gonna hit at the end of the season, or at least in the beginning of the season for the couple of games that they're gonna play, I think that this team is just gonna be one of the better teams in the NBA. Let's just be real. If not, they're gonna be the best regular season team in the NBA. Let's just be real. Not only that, but like a couple of these games, the only reason why they lost is because like Ja Morant was just not playing. And you could say that they were playing really good without Ja Morant, and that may not happen this year. True, but again, we just gotta look at it from just this point of view. A lot of these players are growing older. They're getting more experience. Are probably gonna get better. A guy like Desmond Bane, a guy like Ja Morant, a guy like Jaren Jackson Jr., a guy like Brandon Clark. Who else? John Koch. Excuse me, I was going to say something wild, but they also have a lot of in-season trade capabilities. They have a guy like Zaire Williams, excuse me, but they also have a lot of avenues for trades, which I think a lot of the teams that I spoke about beforehand did not really have that many avenues, except for maybe the Warriors, but I don't think that they were going to do it. So I just think that this team just has the most flexibility in terms of health and talent. I think if we're just talking pure talent, I think that the Clippers would be the number one seed, but I just don't think that they're going to be the most healthy. So, yeah. This is all I have for you guys today, and I just wanted to know what you guys' opinions are. So, it's been your boy Nehemiah, aka Neo, and I hope you guys are having a great one. Also, I'm doing this on a football day, so the reviews are about to hit the fucking roof, bro. Y'all need to like this one up, because I'm not going to get any type of promotion with this on YouTube's part. But yeah, have a great one.